he wants people to look like they're 30. And that's not good, because how would the world run when that's going on?
Well, I agree. But
You know, when
again,
people-
it's not a revelation.
If I like chatting to old people, because they know a lot of stuff. So if I'm sat on a train and someone's old, I'm happier talking to them about...
They get up and move after about 10 minutes.
Well, he likes
but
the fact that many of them are infirm and can.
Yeah, they have to stay there and listen to this one.
But yeah, even that means that they're getting more out of life in a way, because they don't move about as much, so they have more thinking time. It is weird how that happens to you as you get closer to death. You know, you're not working as much because you're resting, and you can think back about your life and you can think, oh, I had a good one. Actually, it's not been that bad. Whereas if...
But you must have started that now, because you've been doing nothing for the past 3 months.
Yeah, but I'm just... Well, like I'm saying, it is a good thing for you to do, to sort of think about what you've been doing with your days and your weeks.
And how
stuff.
do you assess your life so far? With all this spare time you've had on your hands and moping around and moaning about your illness and just sitting round, right? You've been introspecting, have you?
Yeah.
Go on then, what have you come up with?
I haven't come up with anything. I'm just, you know, I have an all right life, and things are changing.
Keep saying that.
No, but you don't know how much they are changing, to the point of, I don't know if I mentioned the squirrel eating Mars bars, but from that, from that happening to monkeys opening bottles with lids on them, to it's mental out there. It's madness what is going on. And all I'm saying is old people need to be old people. You need oldness. You need to see old people. You need to go, right, they might have a solution. They've been on the earth longer. Quick, we need an answer. How old are you? I'm 32. Well, you look 78.
I don't know what you're saying! I don't know who that conversation was with, why you got angry, and I think you made the opposite point that you were making at the beginning. If you say you're 32, you look 78. No, you were saying about it'd be a problem if you were 78 and looked 32.
Well,
I don't know what you're saying. You came down on the wrong side then. You did that whole thing and you bollocksed it up again in your brain.
I'm just saying, either way, you need to have people who look old. Otherwise, who's in charge?
I don't know what you mean.
Right.
So you say you're saying it'd be all right to make 78-year-olds look 32, as long as there were some 32-year-olds that look 78, as long as you've got old-looking people.
No, but say
Can I
like...
tear this page out? Because it's worthless.
What I mean is, when I went to the doctors, I saw the specialist, right, about the kidney stones. I was asking him all the straight questions.
Go on.
Is it life-threatening?
No.
You know, how long am I going to be out?
Couple
All the
of
rest
days.
of it, right? Now,
As it turned out, it is life-threatening, and you've been out for 3 months whinging about the fucking thing. Strange.
Now, he was quite old. He looked about 55, and that reassured me in a way. In a way, it didn't, because he's one of them doctors who didn't open his eyes much, and I kind of thought, I hope you
I
open
don't know
them
what you're talking
wider.
about. What do you mean?
What?
What do you mean he didn't open his eyes much?
One of those sort of doctors who's either that overworked, that is, he does that, you know, when he's tired, so he's going, right, what we're going to do is, and he's doing that with his eyes shut, he's talking
Well,
like that.
this is radio.
I know, but I'm telling you, so you can see.
But people are meant to be listening to this.
But if they can't imagine me with my eyes shut,
Well, tell him you got your eyes shut. Just
Right,
say he had his eyes shut.
yeah, he had his eyes shut.
Had he been reading this? Bored stupid, I imagine. He's just trying to get a...
If he's tired, or if he's that educated that some people know so much you don't even have to look at it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Intelligent people.
Who is so educated that they don't need to open their
You
eyes?
see it, you see like...
Who's that? Who's that bloke up there? Is he blind? No, he's been reading too much. He doesn't open his eyes anymore, doesn't he? No.
Old people who you see wearing tweed and what have you, and they're really posh and they talk, and whenever they talk their eyes are shut and they
I
open...
don't know what this observation is.
I don't understand why you've never seen that.
I've never seen an old, educated man wearing tweed who doesn't bother open his fucking eyes.
Steve,
I
have
don't
you?
know what you're talking about.
Steve, have you seen... Do you know what I mean? When people don't sort of open their eyes when they're talking to you, and it can be quite annoying, because it's like they're saying, I'm not interested about you sat there, I'm not bothered if you're listening, I'm saying what I'm saying because I say what I say. And it can be quite annoying.
if he has got his eyes closed, he's probably just trying to absorb what you're saying and think carefully
Yeah,
about
probably.
it, so he doesn't misdiagnose
I'm
you.
not having a go at him.
Well, it
I'm
sounds like
just
you are.
saying he was 50 odd, and I was happy that he was there telling me...
I don't know why you were watching his eyes when he was telling you about your insides.
Because you can tell a lot by people's eyes. That's what I said about jellyfish. But, you know, just lines in a face tell a few stories, and I don't think we should get rid of them lines.
Brilliant.
Wise words.
Well, that's the end of show number 4. in this third series of the Ricky Gervais Show. So it's goodbye from me, Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant,
Goodbye.
and of course, Carl Pilkington.
Right.
Well, here we are, number 5 in a series of 6 of the Ricky Gervais Show with me, Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant,
Hello there.
and Carl Pilkington.
Alright.
Well, Carl, you are officially a published author. Your book came out, The World of Carl Pilkington, and a copy will go in the British Library.
Will it?
Well, they
Yeah.
have to take every rubbish. I think it'll go in the British Library lavatory.
From
From what I understand, it'll be in there with like a collection of like novelty postcards and maybe
exactly.
a Viz compendium. But, you know.
Yeah, so they take everything. Just think of that.
But is that a rule they set up when books were more important to people? And now it's kind of like, oh, I wish we never said we'd do that.
Well, they have to add 2 miles of shelves every year, apparently.
That's what I mean. Now, surely, you know, they change a lot of other rules, don't they? They used to allow people having their head cut off. And now they've gone, we shouldn't do that anymore, so we'll sort that. Why don't they just say, only so many books a year, make it in there? Ones that are important to the future.
But who knows what's important to the future?
Well, you know, normally, when I say something that I think's a good point...
Yeah, but you're always wrong.
No, but what I mean is when I say something that I think I have got a point there...
Yeah, but you're always wrong.
But why do they do this? Why do they think they've got to keep everything? Because we're living in a world now where everything is sort of binnable, and you know we use stuff
Binnable.
for what it is.
Well,
I think you could say that.
Oh,
It's
that's
been
fine.
a-
That's fine.
There was a sort of poetry to it, but I think he stumbled across that. I don't think it was intentional.
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't got over last week him saying foodage.
Do you know what I mean, though? That the world's changed, so why is that rule still hanging around when...
Well, it's not a rule. I mean, it's not a rule that the country's going to live and die by. It's just that it is seen as a repository for knowledge, for information. And I don't believe any old Joe can wander in there and get one of these books. I think you have to either be a scholar. I think maybe it's open for a brief window for students, but you couldn't just wander in there and see your own book, Carl.
There are some books that they have to turn the page for you in gloves, so the amino acids.
I'd hate that.
With yours, it won't matter. They just go, it's over there, or they throw it to you.
No, it's just...
Or they slide it along the floor.
They say, I can't give it to you, Carl, because it's propping up this desk.
Yeah, they kick it to you and say, put it in the bog when you're finished with it.
It's just that thing of being timed, though. I hate it when people go, oh, have you read this? And then I can't read it properly because they're thinking I'm taking ages here. Do you know what I mean? So I have to scan read it. And I go, oh, it's good, that. And they go, what do you think? And I go, oh, about what? So I hate the fact that someone stood there with gloves on, because that isn't normal, relaxing sort of reading, is it?
But it's not. You don't go in to read the Doomsday Book, let's say, in order to just have a relaxing read. You're going in there to study
They're
it.
researchers,
historically.
to say they're professors and scholars and scientists and historians. They don't wander in because it's raining and they go, what's a good read?
There's not a man wearing white gloves turning the pages of the latest Jackie Collins.
Exactly. Do you have heat?
Watching your lips move as you read to see if you should turn the next page.
I suppose I shouldn't really feel guilty, because at the end of the day, right, I mean, people always rave about Shakespeare, saying, oh, his work was good. But
Brilliant.
at the same
He'll
time...
probably put that on the book when he brings another one out. He'll put your review on it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. Carl Pilkington.
But at the same time, like, some people will have a go. I'm ready for people having a go, like that Wendy did about me little films I made. There's always people...
Wendy
now who-
Robinson.
Yeah,
It's her opinion.
For those of you who didn't hear
and-
last week, she slammed Carl.
No, well, each to their own and that. And, if everyone liked the same thing, I don't know what we'd do. Right?
Sure.
You don't know anything.
So all I'm saying is, everybody raves about Shakespeare, when, if you properly looked at what he did, he invented a lot of swearing words, right? Effing and jeffing and that. Now,
That was one of his.
Well, it's Effin' and Jeffin' and Effin' and Jeffin' Part 2. Did he make up a great deal of swear words? I don't know that I'm aware of this.
A lot of them are Shakespeare invented. But all I'm saying is, for some reason, when things are brought out years ago, people say they're good even though they're not, is what I mean.
But let's not mistake the fact that Shakespeare is not. He's not. People seem to confuse him as though they think he wrote these things in order to be read. He wrote them to be performed. They're plays. They're not books in the traditional sense. He didn't bring out the latest book.
No, but just when something's old, it gets a bit more respect, is what I mean. When I was watching that documentary about the real Indiana Jones,
Brilliant.
they dug out some rocks with drawings on, and they were like, "Oh, don't damage them, don't mark the paint," and it's like, it's rubbish. It was like a stick fella with a yak. And now, if that was found now, or if a kid showed me that, I'd go, "Hey, it's not that good." So what I mean is, because stuff's old stuff gets respect.
But you're not judging it on its aesthetic merits. You're judging it on its historical importance.
I don't think that's fair, though, because when that fella drew that, it wasn't old. He did it when he was knocking about.
No,
Yes,
but you must see the difference between you doing a stick man on a wall with a bit of chalk near your local and a cave painting that they date to 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, so in 10,000 years' time, when they find my story about the monkey fireman, will it gain more respect then than it is now?
No, less.
But why is it?
Because people will more and more realise what a buffoon you are. The more research we do, the more these podcasts we do, the more you expose yourself as an empty, egg-headed moron.
That's a friend speaking right there, Ricky Gervais.
No,
He loves you like a brother.
I just think, you've mentioned him before, Steve, this Peeps fella.
Yes.
Has he done anything else apart from a diary? Because now I've done a book and a diary.
That means you're better than Peeps, is what you're thinking,
Well,
isn't it?
I'm not going to say that until I know, but what else did he do?
Well, Peeps wasn't a writer predominantly. I believe he was, like a bureaucrat or something. But he kept a diary which has since become a historical landmark.
And what did he say in it?
What did he say in it? Well, it's again more because it's both well written and it's also an amazing insight
social
into
document
a social
as well.
document.
Yeah.
It's a social document.
I
of
mean,
that
yours is
period.
a social document, but it sort of revolves around having egg and chips and a calf and seeing a ladybird, which, you know.
But that's today's living. That's
Well,
what I'm saying,
but his describes the Great Fire of London, which is what it's most.
Yeah,
It's
but
best
we haven't
remembered
had
for.
one of them. If we had one, I'd write it down. I'm only writing what's happening. The ladybird happened, right? I wrote it down. He was just lucky. He was about in London when that happened.
So you're a little angered that you've not witnessed one of the great disasters.
Because the thing is, if they read your diary, they'd think, well, nothing happened that year. Nothing important in the world happened that year.
Because your diary doesn't just mention. I mean, okay, yes, it does. It fails to mention any disasters in London because we haven't had any. But it doesn't mention any. It doesn't mention any world events. It doesn't mention wars in Iraq,
But I don't
terrorism.
need
It doesn't
to
mention
now.
anything.
But that's all being wrote about anyway. If you're saying there's a museum that's keeping everything, there's loads of other books for that. Who's looking at the fella whose skulls fell off?
What?
We see. It's interesting, isn't it?
What do you mean the fellow whose skulls fell off?
Well, that's what happened the other week, so I wrote about
What?
it. The fella's skull has fell off.
What do you mean his skull has fell off?
It's something to do with circulation.
But what do you mean his skull fell
Well,
off?
it's in the diary. We
But
might
how
look
can a
at the diary.
skull fall off? Because it's surrounded by tissue and it's got a brain. How can just his skull? How can it detach itself from all the stuff surrounding
He
it?
mislaid all his dreams.
But all I'm saying is that's not getting a look in.
No, because it's not significant or probably true.
Good point, Steve.
I don't
All
know
right. Well,
what's
let me
anything
just. I'll
based
just.
on.
I'll just consult the diary quickly and find the moment with the man whose skull fell off. Oh, here we are. Yeah. Looks like the world's fattest man is having an operation to get rid of some of the fat. He has to have an iron bed because that's the only thing that can hold his weight. There's also a man whose skull has fell out. He's in hospital somewhere. I hate that. It would make me panic. The hospital is busy with people coming in to look at their head.
What are you talking about there? That tells us nothing. Right, it's impossible for a skull to fall out.
It
How are
hasn't-
scholars in 10,000 years going to be... What are they going to decipher from that?
They can sort of
There's
go,
not enough incident detail.
But how did his skull fall out?
circulation problems.
But answer the question. How did his skull fall out? Fall out of what?
He was at home, and I don't know if he was combing his hair or something, but it come off.
What did?
His skull.
What do you mean, his skull? Do you know what the skull is?
It's a part of the head.
Well, no, it's the structure of the head. It's the bone. Do you mean the top of the skull?
This is only useful if you have all the salient facts. Then it would be of interest to us. We could.
Well, I couldn't take that on. I'm busy. I'm not going to start looking into stuff in depth. Just get the details.
God. You're such an idiot. You are the best, idiot in the world.
Well, I don't want to be premature, but that entry is followed by, I injured my toe the other day by dropping the toaster. Instead of letting it hit the floor, I tried to catch it with my foot. I didn't think I'd done any harm, but my nail looks like it could fall off. I might show it to the doctor when I get me kidney stones out. We could easily get by without nails on the feet. They are more trouble than they're worth.
You're so wrong. You're so wrong.
I think on the days when cavemen without shoes and animals need nails, I don't think we need them now. I honestly, because you hear about growing toenails, so that's the problem. You've got to cut them. Stuff gets under there and gets infected. Get rid of them, you won't have any of that. As long as you wear shoes.
No, you'd have unprotected toes and fingers, wouldn't you?
I didn't say on the fingers, just on the toes.
So why do you need them on the fingers and not the toes?
Because you use your hands to do stuff. I've said about toenail out, it'd be good to have it growing on the head.
What?
Just having like a sheet of it, just like a nail on the forehead. You wouldn't look weird because we'd all have it. I'm not saying.
What are you talking about now?
I'm just saying. I don't want to go on about evolution and stuff because we've done it all.
What do you think the skull is for?
No, but I mean on the outside, so that when you bang your head, it's a little bit more protection. Like people. I mean, you're looking at me like that. Why do you wear a helmet on a bike then?
Because the bike wasn't meant to be invented. We weren't meant to whiz along at 70 miles an hour with evolution.
I know, but because life's changing, like you've said.
But you can't go. Let's evolve. Let's re-evolve.
Okay, let's assume we've got this nail on our head that's growing out of our forehead.
So we look like one big thumb.
Yeah. Which weirdly, Carl, kind of, I mean, you can almost imagine it looking at Carl now. You can imagine a big nail there. Does the nail continue to grow? Do we have to trim the head nail?
Yeah, in the same way you get a haircut.
Why is that preferable in your mind to just wearing a crash helmet in instances where you might have something hit your head?
Just because, for a start, helmets, you have to carry them around with you. That's one thing that put me off on the motorbike. Whenever you see someone on a motorbike, it's all like the clothes they've got to wear. And it's like a big upheaval, isn't it? It's you know, if you have a car, you can get in with your shorts on, your flip-flops on. A motorbike, it's like you're an astronaut or something, and you're only nipping down the road for some milk. Do you know what I mean? So, what I'm saying is get rid
But does it annoy you having to put shoes on every day, and underpants, and a vest, and I don't know.
No, but once they're on, I'm not carrying them. They're on me. If I had to then take the shorts off for whatever reason and walk around holding them, I'd go, I can't be bothered. I don't like holding a bag. I don't like bags. We carry too much around with us now. I don't like carrying stuff. It's just a hassle, isn't it?
It's just endless things that he doesn't want to do, doesn't like doing. It's like carrying bags. Who the hell has a gripe about carrying bags? Why is that a concern?
Because it's stuff that's on you.
I love the way that he wouldn't mind having a nail going out of his fucking head, but he doesn't want to carry a bag.
What's good with it is everybody's got one of these.
But it's not going to happen, Carl.
And the most important thing in your body, apart from the heart, is your brain. So protect that, not the toes. The toes we can get by without the toes. People. But your head's important, isn't it? There's a lot of stuff in your head. And I know all this just after seeing the Bodyworks thing. I went to see it's a show on where there's a load of like dead bodies and that. And you can see how much stuff's in the body. And there's loads of stuff. There's nothing in there that you don't need. It's all doing stuff. Everything in your body.
We've been telling you that for years.
But you reckon you don't need the toenails?
Yeah, that's on the outside. I'm saying everything that's on the inside of your body, right?
You don't need the appendix.
No, but doesn't that depend on what lifestyle you have?
Well, it's a hangover of when we probably ate a lot more cellulose, and it's.
Yeah, well, they might come back. Things are always coming back, aren't they? So if people start eating them again.
What about male nipples?
Sort of looks alright though, doesn't it? Because the chest is quite plain, so with nothing on it, you'd go, oh, what's this? It just balances it out. I think it looks alright. I think it works. So leave it. But what were we talking about?
But wouldn't you rather have maybe a little like a rib cage around the testicles? Because you get a whack in them and it. Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Not an invention, Carl. It's not an invention, and we can't do it. But
would you be able to sit down still? Because that's the good thing with them at the moment is movement. So it sort of works. But don't they say? They said something about testicles, the Bodyworks thing.
Well, they're on the outside.
Put yours away, Carl. You're not one of the exhibits.
They're on the outside because they have to be a few degrees below body temperature for the Sertoli cells to
So
work.
that's an odd design that they had to go there, because it is it's a bit of an odd place to have them.
Where would you suggest? Dangling from the throat?
Sort of.
I want to redesign you, right? You can possibly do this now. This is something you can actually do, probably. You could probably have your testicles anywhere. So where would you want them?
You've got a giant forehead nail.
Yeah. You could have that. It probably wouldn't grow, but we could certainly have that.
I just mean, like, because if all it's about is temperature, you don't want to get them too hot.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting hot down there because you're wearing pants and what have you. So have them nearer to the outside of the body.
Well, they are on the outside of the body.
No, but we wear pants over them.
So you wear pants over them because their testicles, and polite society suggests that you don't show your testicles.
That's the odd thing, isn't it? That's what's happened somehow. That we've said testicles shouldn't be seen.
Well, then just put a hole in your trousers. If it's only about keeping them cool, and because they're too hot, why don't you just hang them out your shorts?
Because there's too many sort of seats that are shared these days, isn't there? But what I'm saying is,
well, what are you saying?
Where would you put them?
Somewhere like sort of under the ears, so it just looks like lobes.
So you would redesign your body to have a pair of testicles hanging from your ears.
And when people are sometimes talking, they do sort of mess with their ears, and they're always saying check for lumps. More handy.
Does the penis remain where it is at the
Leave
moment?
that where it is. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, Rick, but I would love to see, perhaps on the web, it's very easy to put stuff on web pages now, some kind of illustration, could be computer generated, could be drawn by hand, of the new model Carl. Bear in mind, people, that he's got some testicles underneath his ears.
And a big thumbnail on his forehead.
Big thumbnail on his forehead.
Talking to Carl, I want to see Carl's head everywhere. It's the roundness that I like, okay? So do a viral campaign. Anyone out there with a picture of Carl, just get it everywhere. Because I want eventually everyone to, as they walk past him in the street, to shout, "You shaved monkey," or "Look at that bald head," or "Look at fucking coconut face coming this way. You got a head like a fucking orange."
Went out the other night with the lads. There's a few of us, young, free and single.
Must look like the Swingers.
Oh, it was pretty. It looked like a boy band had gone out. It looked like,
really?
It looked like NSYNC had hit the streets.
Right, yeah.
We'd dressed up, told up, out for a few drinks. A friend of mine said, "Let's go to a club." Right, I haven't been to a nightclub for a long time. Actually, I haven't been.
Is that because your glasses steam up when you walk in out of the cold?
That is a problem in the winter. It's very difficult to make a good impression when as you walk in, your glasses steam up straight away, and you got to take them off and clean them and stuff, and then you get a bit
on your white fronts. You pull your white fronts up through the jeans, clean them on that,
or the back of a girl's dress. But we cruised down to the club. It's one of those big sort of super clubs, London super clubs. Never been in one of those, the Ministry or any of those things, so it was all new. And it's a bit of a queue. I think it's a bit of a chore. But we're queuing up, we're in good spirits, we're looking at it. It sounds pretty funky, we can hear the music coming out. Been in the queue for quite a while, 25 minutes.
Forget it, 25 minutes.
Well, yeah, we were pretty excited by this point. The doorman says, "Hello, lads." I said, "Yeah, we're coming, please." He went, "No, you're not."
Really?
What? He said, "You're not coming in." And he just immediately lifted the little rope and sent us away from the queue, right? And we were slightly perplexed. We were dumbfounded. We didn't know what to do. It was like this couldn't be happening. It didn't make sense. We just queued up what was going on. And so my friend said, "Well, we've got to find out why he's not going to let us in." So he goes back over.
I thought you wanted to do. You wanted to tie him up with logic. That'll show a bouncer.
Exactly.
Yeah, show him how educated you are and how you can win an argument and make him look stupid. You'll be in that club in no time.
That's what they appreciate. They love that. Because what they respect is being made to look like a fool.
Yeah, exactly.
So we went over and...
they really look up to intellectuals.
Exactly, yeah. So one of our mates goes over and he says, "Why didn't you let us in?" And he went, "Because you didn't have any girls with you." No, I'll tell you this. That's kicking you when you're down. Because when you're out on a Saturday night trying to get into a club to meet women, and the reason you're not allowed to go in a club to meet women is because you haven't got any women with you, that's just salt in the wound. It's so humiliating. So, a friend of mine says that there's a VIP entrance over there. And there was like a woman with a clipboard, you know, the guest list. Separate entrance. She said, you know, you've got a little bit of profile, Steve. Why don't we try and use your...
You ran home, got your Golden Globe and you're at me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I always carry, you know, some of my cuttings with me.
Yeah.
And I felt a bit self-conscious about it. I was thinking, I'm not into this, you know, it's a bit awkward. But he said, look, don't worry, you just stand here. Just stand here, just like you're having a conversation. I'll go over, I'll point him out, I'll go, oh, there's, you know, Steve Merchant over there, at the office. Or whatever.
Oh, God, Steve!
So I thought, well, you know, the thing is, we were out, and I was a bit frustrated, and I thought, you know, we may as well try everything. So I stand there, if my friend goes over and he has a word, and he comes back and he says, it's fine. She can't let us in the VIP entrance because she's not allowed, but what she can do is walk us to the front of the queue, right? And walk to the front of the queue and explain. So I think, okay, fine.
Oh, God.
So the guy takes me and my mates, right, this girl, she takes us, we walk past everyone else, right, to the front of the queue, right? She goes up to the guy, she says, this is Steve Merchant office. The guy goes, I know who he is, we're not letting him in.
Oh, God! Oh, God!
By now, of course, some people have recognised me, so they're trying to have my photo taken. So there's people inside the line that's being allowed in the club. I've got to lean across the rope to have my photo taken with them, even though I'm not allowed in the club. So they go, oh, alright, this is Steve there, and the photo's taken, right, camera phones and that. They're going into the club where the party's kicking off. I'm outside waiting for the next chump who wants to have his photo taken. I mean, it was mental. So,
that's unbelievable.
I was furious, and then one guy, I remember he was chatting, and he goes, oh, yeah, brilliant, I love the podcast and all that stuff. I love, is Carl with you? I said, oh, Carl's not out here. And his girlfriend was with me, she went, who's that? And he went, oh, it's just Steve Merchant, he does the office, he does thing. And she went, who cares? Who are you, Bruce Forsyth? And it's that thing when suddenly I'm being humiliated and embarrassed by someone's girlfriend. I never asked for that. I never asked for her opinion on me. I'm sorry if I don't impress you, if I'm not sufficiently famous for you, but it's not my fault. It's your boyfriend who brought it up. It was like I'd gone over to her and tried to show off, and she was annoyed. So by now I was just furious.
Oh,
so
God.
I thought, forget this.
Well, I was walking down the street, and there's a group of builders sitting down with a cup of tea. One of them goes, alright, Rick? I went, alright, mate. The other one went, not as fat as on telly. I went, oh, thanks. Not as fat as on telly. So he went with, well, you are fat, but you look even fatter on telly. He didn't say, oh, God, you don't look fat at all, or, oh, you look big on telly, but you don't look fat. Just went with, not as fat as on telly. And there's nothing I could say, but cheers, mate.
Now, when you said cheers, mate, did you say that because you were... Because I'd say cheers, mate, because I'd be a little bit scared of them.
No, I was
I'd be
just
worried about the
like
repercussions.
sarcasm, and you know, I laughed after. Yeah.
So you can get away with sarcasm with working class blokes.
I'm a little bit more secure with a working class male than you, aren't I?
I'm terrified of them. I feel like they're going to turn on me any minute.
You don't feel confident sort of backing in a lorry driver?
Terrified.
Oh, right.
Because
okay.
if I did, he'd probably lean out and just go and get your dad, mate.
Yeah, not you.
Fuck off, I'm not interested.
Not you. Yeah.
So the final stab is this guy says, there's a party I know of going on, right? Oh, I'm looking at it. So we go down to this party. Right, as we're getting there, as we're about to go in, he goes, now you know it's a singles party. I thought, oh, what? He says, you know it's a singles party. Oh, God. So I go in this party, right, it's all single people, right? Now, theoretically, that should be brilliant, right, if you're a singleton yourself. It's the worst kind of party to go to, because when you normally go to a party, right, and you're chatting to a girl, and she says, oh, I got to go get a drink or whatever, you think, oh, she's probably got a boyfriend or whatever, or she, you know, she's with mates, that's fair enough. But when you're at a singles party, and a woman says, I'm just going to go and get a drink, and then you just see her leaving, you realise it's not because she's got a boyfriend or whatever, it's just because she doesn't want to talk to you.
You can't even kid yourself.
You can't even pretend.
Oh,
and you
dear.
suddenly sense everyone judging everyone else. So you see a girl and she'll like look at you up and down, and then ignore you and walk on. And it's like a massive slap in the face. It's like girls coming up to you, they don't have to say anything and they're rejecting you. And so anyway, one of my friends has been reading this book, The Game, right, by this guy called Neil Strauss, which is sweeping a certain part of the population because it is one of those books written on how to meet women and seduce women, right? And there's this guy called Neil Strauss who infiltrated a sort of secret organisation in America of blokes who've got all these various seducing techniques, right? And one of the techniques which we've been discussing is something called negging, where if you see a very attractive woman, the theory is that she's getting asked out all the time by blokes, right? They're always coming up and saying, oh, you're really beautiful, can I buy you a drink? And that what you have to do to set yourself away from the pack is to sort of not be so obviously complimentary. So you come up and you almost sort of pay her a backhanded compliment, or you almost neg, as they say something slightly negative. So what you might say is you might go up to her and say, oh, I like your shoes, I've seen another girl wearing them in the club, right? And the theory is that she's sort of, she's a bit taken aback, she's a bit sort of thrown off, and then of course you start complimenting her and you start building her back up again. It's very elaborate mind games. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but we've been talking about the neg, and I was chatting to a girl and I was a little bit drunk and I wasn't thinking it through, and I thought about the neg because it wasn't going very well, but I don't think you should say to a girl, I think your ears are a bit too big for your head, because you know what I mean, it's like you can't come back from that, and there's nowhere else to go, because that really is just an insult.
He's only gone and listened it down the little fucking
That jingle, of course, signifying yet another reading from Carl Pilkington's diary, as always packed with rich insight into the man's mind. Had a late night last night because I stayed up to watch a programme about monkeys.
It's already good.
Of course you did.
It's already good.
Now, before I read on, I mean, is this not some kind of monkey news? Is this not a late return to monkey news?
Well, it's not that good.
Is it not? Whereas the other monkey news is...
Oh, chimpanzee, that's some more shit.
This is what he says. This is what he gleaned from the programme about monkeys. It sat on a bridge and wanted stuff off people to walk over the bridge.
What?
So it was acting as some kind of toll booth,
This is
was it?
ridiculous.
No, it was a bridge in like the jungle,
Oh, shut the fuck up.
and it's a monkey that sat on a bridge, and a lot of tourists go through the area.
No, it's a monkey
to look at them.
who realised that if he sits there, he'll get stuff because it looked like it's a cute little chimp begging.
No, but every time.
Yeah, because you give a monkey, I'm as bad as him now. If you give a chimpanzee a banana, and he starts realising that humans have things to give.
Yeah, but it's all
Squirrels
sorts of
learn that. But you don't go, you wouldn't say, went to the park, the squirrel's waiting at the gate. You have to give them a toll to go in. They're only going to give them nuts. They come up to you every time. You fucking idiot.
Went to bed after watching it and fell asleep thinking about it on the bridge right now. It's a bit bad, really, because the monkey should work harder for its food. It made me remember the slug I saw yesterday that was eating bird poo. Nobody would ever help a slug with food like they do with ducks and monkeys. A slug's life is pretty bad. The only time they come out of their den is when it's raining.
Den.
So even their days out are depressing.
It is. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It is like, it's a horrible thing to be, innit? A slug.
Love him talking about what is it like to be a slug.
No, just because like the monkey, even though it's been quite aggressive, everyone was like, "Oh, give it some water," and it was well like kitted out. It had like chocolate bars, bottled water, some like fizzy stuff, and all that.
An iPod. It was listening to Monkey News.
It could have had one if it wanted one. It was getting away with murder on that bridge, and that's just because it was furry. Yeah, if that was like a blob, like a slug, there's no way people would be that friendly towards it, and it just annoys me how you get this pecking order for like no matter what creature you are, favouritism. And that slug was only eating that bird poo because it wasn't being offered stuff.
If it was offered toffees or whatever.
Well, it's just sad, isn't it? It's come to that. That's what its life has come to.
Yeah, but it's not as
was
mollusk
raining, like
that's
I said,
down on its fucking luck.
It didn't live in a big country house,
No,
and his
but it
wife left
is.
it. The
I
kids
was
went. It started hitting the
watching
bottle.
it, and I kind of thought, and look, they do only come out in the rain, and it's depressing, and it'll probably get killed in a bit. And that was its last meal. I just
Last meal.
But it
people
wouldn't
don't care.
prefer steak and chips, Carl. It
No,
doesn't
but a
have.
leaf, it must like a leaf or at the end of the day, it's an insect. They love a
It's
leaf.
not an insect.
Well, it's part of that gang. It's part of that. No, it's part of
They
that.
hang out together. They hang out
It's not.
together.
No,
Why do you think it's part of that
Because
gang?
it knocks about in the woods in the same place as a spider does. But what I'm saying is they're eating boring stuff because that is what's
It's
in
not
their
boring
area.
stuff to them. They're not. I have no opinion of it at all. They take in sustenance.
No, but where you are is what you eat. When I'm in London, I'll have beans on toast for lunch. On holiday, what? Tapas? Go on, I'll have a bit. So it's whatever you eat, what's in that area.
Suzanne went off to work and I went to the shop to buy some envelopes. The shop was empty, but the fella behind the counter was on the phone and just kept talking even though he could see I was waiting. I started to count backwards from 20. When I got to 6, he hung up and served me. I won't use the shop again. Question, why count backwards from 20?
So he's thinking, what's going to happen at 1? If I start counting from 1, he's going, well, let him carry on.
What, out loud?
So, not really loud, but like more of a mouth action, so he could see who was doing it. You know, like
Sorry, you just started miming counting backwards to a man in a shop.
He's on the phone. The
Yes.
shop is empty. I
Yes.
thought he'd like me custom. He could have served me and stay on the phone. Even though I don't like that, at least he's still doing what he needs to do.
I'd have said,
within the
sorry,
shop.
can I just get these, please?
Yeah. Well, I stood there and I thought, it's annoying me now, my kidney's aching and I started to get a bit of a sweat on. So I thought, right, I'm going to give him 20 seconds and if he hasn't got off the phone, I'm leaving. And when I got to about 6, he served me. What's wrong with that? Again,
You are
giving
one
yourself...
of the strangest people.
It's just giving yourself a thing. I could have been stood there for
Free.
ages.
He's one of the strangest people who's free to walk.
Yeah.
It's
the
about
streets.
No, I set myself a little target and I thought I don't want to waste another 30 seconds in here. I'll give him 20. It worked. He served me at 6.
But it didn't work. Yeah, but did he do it because you were doing that, or did he finish his phone call?
I don't know. I was busy counting.
Looked at what's been going on in the world. There was a human head attached to a seagull's body in a jar.
Is that all it says?
This is the sort of weird stuff that goes on behind surgery doors. I doubt it ever flew because the head would have been too heavy.
Well, of course it wasn't. It didn't happen. It wasn't live.
No, but they try this stuff, don't they? That's like that program I watched with a
Well,
monkey's head
who
on.
has ever tried to put a human head on a seagull's body?
They've done loads of stuff like that. It's part of us moving on, isn't it? It's
What are you talking about?
I'm not going
Carl?
to get into argument about
Well,
science
you're
because
wrong.
it's all
Don't
behind
talk
closed doors.
shit.
How do you think we can change a heart now from another body? You have to try things out. It's trial and error. All sorts of weird stuff goes on in hospitals, but we let it happen because it's to help us out in the long run, isn't it?
But what are they aiming towards when they're going to find out if you can put a head on a seagull's body? What is that? What are they want to learn, and how do they want to apply that knowledge? A new heart it is obviously for a reason. It saves a life.
Yeah,
What is this to save money on transport? Instead of getting a bus pass, you go, can I put my head on the seagull's body? I go, well, it won't work. We'll try it.
Yeah, but there is odd things like that. Like I saw a fish the other day, right?
Right.
And honestly, it's the weirdest thing. It was just like a blob with a face. Now I would never have said, "Yeah, let that swim about." I'd have killed it from day dot. I would have gone, "Get rid of that."
Oh God! Under what circumstances would you have killed that from day dot?
Or I'm just saying, looking at it, I'd say that does not work. And it looked sad. It looked like it didn't want to be about.
Have you got her number?
Oh God! Oh God! Well, that's it for another week. The end of episode 5. One more to go in this series of 6 of the Ricky Gervais Show. We'd love you to buy Carl's book because it is genuinely interesting and funny as a you know, just as a social experiment to see that proved Carl's theory wrong, that a monkey can write a book. So it's bye from me, Ricky Gervais. Goodbye from Steve Merchant.
Goodbye.
And goodbye from the little shaven monkey that is Carl Pilkington. Hello and welcome to the last in this series of 6 of the Ricky Gervais Show with me, Ricky Gervais, Steve Merchant,
Hello.
and Carl Pilkington.
Carl, as you're aware, you've obviously got many celebrity fans. David Bowie is a fan, people involved with creating The Simpsons. And you've also got a new fan, Warwick Davis, who is the short actor that many people will see in films like Return of the Jedi. He also is in Harry Potter. He's 3'6", and Ricky and I worked with him recently on extras. And far from asking us about the many celebrity names that we've worked with, the only person he was interested in talking about, of course, Mr. K. Pilkington.
He wanted to meet you, Carl.
Yeah. Well, is he all right to get on with?
Why wouldn't he be?
Just because sometimes when people aren't normal, it's
Sorry?
No, I just mean when someone, like, I've met a few little people in my time. The one that I met a little fella once, and he was all right. He got drunk really quick, but he was all right. But it took me by surprise, only because, like I've said about when I met Steve for the first time, it's only that same thing. And then if I lived with the little fella, I'm sure we'd get on a storm.
What do you mean when you met
There's
Steve?
a TV show waiting to happen.
What do you mean when you met Steve for the first time?
No, we've done it. You know, when he walked in, it just a bit of it's different. But then I see Steve every week, and you know, the same way I say I like watching Elephant Man. From the first time I watched it to the last, totally different. When he walks in the first time, it's like, oh god, look at that. It's a mess, isn't it? When I watch it again, it's kind of like, oh, here he is, here's John. So it doesn't. Things wear off. That's like the world, isn't it? Things don't amaze you as much as you see things and you use things often. And it's the same with the little fella you're talking about. First time I see him, I'd be a little bit like, well, what do you say? You know, what shouldn't I say? Whereas once you get to know him, I'm sure he'd be a lovely little fella.
I don't know where to start, Steve.
Well, Warwick, I think, suspected as much. He's offered you an interesting fact, actually. You're wearing headphones now. Apparently you wear those headphones for just 1 hour, and it will multiply the amount of bacteria in your ear by over 700 times.
But why is he worrying about that? I mean...
Well, he's not worrying about it. He thinks it's of interest to you because you're wearing headphones. It's part of your profession.
You wear headphones, yeah.
But Warwick asks, really, what are your thoughts on short people, particularly in entertainment? Because, of course, they've, throughout the ages, made an appearance, particularly in fiction. Tom Thumb, of course, the Oompa Loompas.
What do I think of them?
He's just wondering, I suppose, what your take is.
They're alright. I mean, when I was on jury duty, when you go in the morning, you have to go into a big sort of waiting room, and every day I'd sort of see one pop in, and he'd be sort of struggling getting on the chair, and it was kind of something to watch. It was different. That's what's good with look at stuff and you go, oh, look at that. And seeing him struggle on the chair, he was happy. He wasn't struggling in a way that he felt uncomfortable. He'd obviously climbed a lot of chairs in his time, and this was just another one. And watching him, it just makes you think. You go, I should appreciate that I don't have that problem every time I have to sit down and what have you. But I don't think it's that bad. If I had to pick being really tall or really small, I'd go for the really small one because the world's a more interesting place for him, isn't it? Everything's bigger. Do you know what I mean? We go to New York and go, wow, look at this, and they go and they go, oh dear. Do you know what I mean? Everything's a lot bigger. Everything's more amazing. Food portions, everything's a bonus. So out of the two, I'd be small, and maybe that's what I'd chat to Warwick about for a bit, just to get to know him.
Brilliant.
It's a shame in a way that he's not been able to pop in. I'd like to hear that conversation.
But I've got, speaking of like weird stuff and that, I've got a new...
Well, we weren't, but go on.
No, got a new book. Do you know I had that Freaks book? Top 50 Freaks. Got a new one sent to me.
Really?
Yeah. And do you know, like, everything normally has a name. So, like, if it's the two-headed fella, they're all nicknames like that, aren't they?
They've got two nicknames, I imagine.
But this new book I've got, right, on the cover of this one, it's got, like, a woman with 3 breasts, right? And she's called the three-breasted woman, as you'd expect. And there's what else was in there? There's a fella, the one face.
Why is she posing nude though? That's what I want to know.
Showing off. It's not the worst disability, is it?
Well, just 'cause you got 3 doesn't mean you have to get them out for the lads, does it?
Tart.
Well, she looked happy. And there was a fella with like one face but 2 bodies.
Do one face but 2 bodies.
One face, 2 bodies.
What do you mean
It's
one
weird.
face, 2 bodies?
Surely you one head, 2 bodies.
Ed as well, but it was mainly the face that was weird because he looked fed up. And sort of,
What are you talking about? How
What
can
are
you
you
have
talking
a face
about?
without a head?
How can you have? What do you mean? How did it join to the neck?
oh, it did have a head, but the fact is, it was weird that it had one face to me.
What do you mean?
Well,
if you've
of
got
course
one
he had-
head, you'd have one face.
Yeah, I know, but it was the fact that he had one face and two bodies that I didn't think.
But
one
why do
head-
you keep saying one face and two bodies as
Why
opposed
not
to
one
one
head?
head and two bodies? We're all the man with one face.
Yeah, but now I've got one body.
Yeah, well, surely he's the man with two bodies then. Again, the description.
Roll up, see the man with one face.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
He's just got like a face and then one neck, and it splits off into two bodies. It's
No,
really weird.
it
Honestly, it's
doesn't.
weird.
But
It was ages ago.
Well, no,
No,
it doesn't happen.
So it's full of stuff like that, right? And what I'm saying is that fella, you know, the one-faced man, the three-breasted woman.
He wouldn't be known as the one-faced man, is what I'm saying.
Well, they've all- they
that
all-
isn't the peculiar thing about
Yeah,
him.
well, they all had names like that. But
Right.
there was one thing in it that didn't even have a nickname. It was so weird.
What do you mean?
It just said unidentified.
What does it look like?
Sort of testicles for eyes. That's. It just reminded me when
What
you
do you
talked
mean
about strange.
testicles for eyes?
And what is it? Did he have a normal body?
I didn't even look at that.
So
That's what I'm saying. They're attracted to the oddness of the thing, and that's what I was saying about Warren when he walks in.
Warwick.
You know, it'll be odd for a minute, and then I'm sure.
For him it will be, yeah.
He'll get used to you.
You know, I mean, like I've said, I'm surprised that things like that don't happen more, because especially after being in hospital and seeing how the body works and that.
You
How
have no
does
idea
it-
how the body works.
No, honestly, I've got my
Right,
head
you
round it
have
a bit.
no idea. You've learnt nothing.
I've got my
You've learnt nothing since the age of 7.
got my head round it a bit more, and the way that there's loads of people in the world, and yet you don't see people with like dangly eyes more often. It amazes me.
I love the fact that he's amazed by not seeing things.
Yeah.
It's incredible. He's walking down the street going, "Oh, everyone's got one head." It's
Yeah.
weird.
Suzanne, see any dangly eyes today? No, me neither.
It's weird, isn't it? What's going on in the world?
Warwick's not been the only correspondent. We've had a number of people. I remember years ago we used to encourage people to send in questions, and those questions have been drifting in ever since, really. Just things that people want to throw at you, see how your mind works, Carl. Do you mind answering a few? I suppose you might loosely term these philosophical questions, or at least questions that might help you think, ponder on some of the bigger ideas.
This is your forte, Carl. Philosophy, isn't it?
Question 1. Carl, are all men born equal?
Wow, talks about Warren.
Warwick?
Say if like the Pillow Man, right, the fellow with no arms and legs, if everyone was like that, he wouldn't be. That wouldn't be a disability. He'd be equal to everyone else, wouldn't he?
When someone fights for equality, it doesn't mean they want to be treated literally the same. For example, it's usually about a prejudice, isn't it, or a lack of opportunity. If you were just to think of equal opportunities in terms of job, if you needed someone for a lookout on a lighthouse, and a blind person went along, they couldn't do the job. Whereas if it was listening for stuff and you didn't give it to the blind person because you were worried about, blind people, that would be imposing a prejudice because he could hear as well as you. So if he was the best for that job, he should get it, despite his other disability.
But I'm pretty sure, yeah, your ears are important in a lighthouse.
I'm pretty sure he's come down on the wrong side of the argument, Steve.
Keep going.
Go on.
No, I just want to hear it, yeah.
I mean, if they want to go for any job, go for it, but then don't moan if you don't get it. That's all I think.
Is
Yeah,
that your equal opportunity statement?
That's your statement.
Well, I don't take anyone on, so I don't have all these worries, but I'm just saying, if I was in charge of that lighthouse and the deaf fella turned up, was he deaf or blind?
Well, it depends. I gave you
There
two
was one of these.
scenarios.
There was a deaf guy and a blind guy.
And no one else. I put another advert in.
Okay, well we've got another question here, which I suppose in some respects is along the same lines. Do you believe in the notion that history is written by the victors, and consequently
Well,
What does
don't tell him what the upshot
No,
of
I was
that
going to
is.
say, and consequently, what does that mean?
Yeah, sorry.
And consequently, what does that mean for history, as we understand it?
Just that stuff's written by the people who won it. Type thing.
One what?
Won whatever they did.
But what yeah. But,
Well, if it's a war, the ones
Well,
who
that's-
won it wrote it. But
Yeah.
of course you're going to do that. That's what you do, isn't it? You shout about it if you win something. If you lose, you go, oh, don't talk about that. It's
no,
depressing.
no, doesn't mean that at
Or
all.
because they're not around.
Well, it means very often if someone has conquered a nation or set up a dominance somewhere, that they keep an eye on what goes out, what's propaganda or whatever, or what's taught in schools,
But it's even more significant than that, because it comes down to the very, very minute pieces of information that we see in every walk of life. Prior to black people having their freedom when they were slaves, history, or the history of black people, was not being written by black people. Therefore, it was always seen through white eyes, which often explained, justified, or excused, or dismissed, or didn't even mention many of the abhorrent things that happened. So it's hugely significant.
I suppose you can bring out 2 books. There's loads of books, isn't there? I brought one out. If I can get one out, let the losers bring one out. Is what I mean. Just let everyone have a book, and then you decide. Let people decide which one they want to read. I think they did it with some story where it was like you decide the end.
Okay. That was largely the point of this exercise, wasn't it?
He's got no idea. Carl, do you believe that the future is fixed? Do you believe that your life unfolds as a matter of destiny?
I've heard something about this where there's some system that it is laid out for you, and even
Wow.
if you want, say if I wanted chicken for my tea, I really fancy having chicken, but when I get to the supermarket, the fella goes, we haven't got any chicken, you're having beef. They say that was already laid out for you, and that day you were having beef no matter what happened.
Fatalism. There's a slightly more attractive theory called determinism, where they say it's
Well,
not
that's
so much.
if you want chicken, you'd go to the next supermarket and you'd go, well, I'm going to find it.
It doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're determined in that sense. Like you're definitely gonna have chicken tonight. It means that it was determined, as in predetermined. But all determinism basically says is that it's not whether you can choose, it's whether you can choose your choice, because it's to do with brain states, and we think we have the illusion of free will because you go, oh, I'll have a drink, oh, I fancy Coke, but something in you happened that meant you wanted Coke.
Well, this is weird, right? Because do you know how I've been in hospital, having me kidney stones done and what have you? Well, as they do in hospitals, and this is why I don't like going in them.
Did I just try and explain determinism to Carl Pilkington?
Yeah,
What
I
the
didn't
fuck
want
am
to
I
stop
thinking?
you, but
I mean, what am I thinking?
it just made you look more of an idiot than
I know
him.
exactly. Yeah, I feel stupid.
But
Yeah.
I'm in hospital, right? And like I've said to you, the annoying thing is when you're in hospital, they didn't just have a play about with the kidney. Whilst they're there, they're fiddling about with other bits, right? And they're like, oh, let's have a
That's
feel on that.
libelous.
No, but that's what they do. Whilst you're in, let's have a, prod about. They took some blood, right? And they said to us, now the weird thing is, these kidney stones you had, it was probably caused by too much calcium, right?
That's what they are. They're a calcium build-up where you're not flushing it out, and so it's...
Yeah. Now, the weird thing is there, I don't like having cornflakes. So what I'm saying is, what you were just saying there is your mind or whatever. I've asked you before, I don't know what's in charge. But say like,
You don't, do you?
say like when I get up in the morning, normally Suzanne will have some Rice Krispies. And she's like, do you want some? Right? Just have some. And I'm like, no. Now that isn't me saying no. That's the calcium. That's my body going, I don't need any milk. Don't give me milk. I'll have a crumpet.
Now, bear in mind, Rick, that in the space of 3 minutes, we've gone from your definition of determinism to him having a lovely crumpet for breakfast. There's no one else in the world you can have a conversation with where you can make that distance that quickly.
But it is interesting how my body... Have you ever had it, right? Sometimes I can go
But no,
ages.
your body lied to you because your body said you don't need water, you don't need water, you don't need water.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Like today before I left, Suzanne said, "What do you want?" Straight away I said, "I need some leaks." Now, that operation I've had has obviously taken out whatever leaks give me. I'm lacking on that.
See, I think he probably has it more than the rest of us because I think he uses his subconscious more than us. We think about stuff. He is like the leech that is going on chemical
instinct.
memory. Yeah.
Oh, he's only gonna rain it down.
Fine, of course. Once again, another reading from the Diary of Carl Pilkington. Now, of course, for those of you who have not been keeping abreast of Carl's medical complaints, just brings up the speed, Carl. You had to go into hospital this week because previously you'd had...
I've been in and
treatment.
out. Honestly, I've been in and out of that hospital just with kidney problems, really painful and what have you. And,
He had
so-
kidney stones, alright.
No, but
sorted.
seriously.
Monday. Had a bit of a lie-in today because I have to get up early for my operation tomorrow. Not only have I got to have tubes shoved up my knob, but I also have to get up at 5:50. Suzanne said I could have what I want for my last dinner. It's not your last dinner, you're going for an operation.
Yeah, but you can't take things for granted these days.
Oh, fuck.
I had shepherd's pie and peas. Suzanne made it from scratch. As nice as it was annoying. Because making stuff from scratch means loads of pots, and it's my job to do the washing up. So much as the food was nice, there was loads of pans in there. People who get their last dinner on death row that have to wash up. Got up at 5:55. You were supposed to be getting up at 5:50 on the other page. You were 5 minutes late getting up.
He's often late.
Often late.
No, just because I needed to have water before 6 o'clock. They said don't have anything after 6.
We'll get up at 5:50 then, like you were planning to.
Don't
You're having
take 10
5 minutes sleeping.
Doesn't take 10 minutes to have water though, does it?
Well, why did you say 5:50 in the first time?
Because then it tricks me head, doesn't it? Going, I had an extra 5 minutes.
Tricks me head. Because then it tricks me head.
It got to the hospital and had to wait in the waiting room. There was another 9 people in there waiting to be sorted. I got called in. They sat me on a bed and took all my details down. 5 minutes later I'd been knocked out. I got woke up when they were ripping a pipe out of my throat. I felt more rough this time. The doctor came to see me and said he couldn't find a stone, so I must have passed him. I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah, we filled your kidney with water and expanded it and there was no hiding place." I sat in the recovery room for an hour while they found me a bed. One of the fellows who was sat in the room with me this morning got wheeled in. They couldn't wake him up. All the nurses were laughing because he didn't want to wake up. I bet they were laughing at me when I was in the theatre. Someone told me they totally strip you when they're operating. I would have looked like the alien on the Boswell incident.
Boswell! Boswell!
It's quite a nice analogy if it weren't for the fact that you said Boswell.
He's...
The Roswell incident. Didn't sleep much through the night because there was a 60-year-old fella shouting at the nurse about his pillows. I don't think I slept through a full hour with one thing or another going on. My bed was next to the toilet, so I kept hearing the flush.
How do they sleep in hospitals though? They wake you up to give you fucking sleeping pills and things, don't they? How do you sleep in there? It's always hot, it's always like 90 degrees.
There's no air.
Is that to make you drink water?
I don't know what it is. There's no air. There was an old fellow across from me who kept breaking wind. He didn't even try and cover it. He was just of that age where he didn't care. Just like, that's what I do. I'm in a hospital, leave me alone.
What do you mean?
Just, I don't know what was wrong with him. I talked to him because at first I felt sorry for him. I was a little bit like, he's had no visitors. No one's calling him up, so I'll talk to him. But then he got that familiar with me that he'd just be doing it whilst I'm chatting to him. Just like he's my granddad or something. It's just like, oh, that's what he does. It's like, well, I'm him as well. Stop doing that. Honestly, unbelievable. He didn't even try and cover it with a cough. It was just like, that's
Just with a cough! How would you cover it with a cough?
just non-stop.
Got home and sat down. My pains are coming back, but the doctor said this would happen, that my insides are still in shock, so I need to take it easy. It's 9 o'clock. I'm in agony. I can't do the diary for the rest of the day. So you may as well just tell us then that.
Right, well, yeah, after that, went back in. Suzanne just got frustrated with me because I was rolling about on the floor and she was trying to watch Arthur, right? So that was on the other night.
I thought it was
And,
with your lodger.
So
And she said, look, if you're in pain, do something. She said, you know...
you went and got a cold plate.
Yeah. No, use an ashtray. Plates are for liver damage.
She said, right, come on. Let's... actually, I can't put up with this. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So we left the flat and what have you. Got in a taxi. He filled up on the way, which was annoying.
He didn't.
That
He
is
did.
cheeky.
That really... I mean, he could
On
see
the
I was
way
in
to the
pain.
hospital.
So...
Because he's not an ambulance driver.
Did you explain that where you
no,
were going
I
to?
was in that sort of thing where you just can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? I was in a sweat and
He
stuff.
came back with a scratch card and some barbecue.
briquettes. Yeah.
So anyway, he gets us there and he doesn't charge us, which is pretty decent of him.
That's all right, yeah.